Like, you could literally walk 15 feet and then be like, I'm just going to come right back, and the jungle will. I can only really speak for our region of the Amazon, but I haven't even heard a story about it.
They thought the Amazon was just another wild place to explore. Tall trees, strange sounds, and endless green in every direction. But when these explorers walked deep into the jungle alone, something felt wrong almost right away. The air grew quiet. Birds stopped singing. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then they realized they were not truly alone. Something unseen was moving with them, watching every step. What started as a simple journey into the rainforest slowly turned into a terrifying tale of survival. Join us in this video as we reveal the details. Lost in a jungle that was never silent. Paul Rosalie once told a story on the Joe Rogan Experience that still makes people uneasy. He wasn't talking about a normal jungle trip. He was talking about being truly lost in the Amazon, cut off from everything he knew. No river to follow, no clear trail, no way back. Just endless green in every direction. Paul said it happened after he left the river, which is something every jungle explorer fears. In the Amazon, the river is your lifeline. Once you step away from it, even just a few feet, the jungle can swallow you. Paul explained that you can walk 15 feet into the trees, turn around, and suddenly have no idea where you came from. Everything looks the same. Everything is green. It feels like the jungle is closing in around you. He said that on this trip he went out alone and got completely lost. It wasn't even meant to be a long solo journey, but days passed and he still couldn't find his way back. By around day 6, fear had set in. He admitted he didn't even remember how long it had been exactly. He just knew he was alone, scared, and starting to think dark thoughts. He began wondering if this was how people disappear. If this was how explorers become stories instead of survivors. He even joked in a nervous way that he might end up like the kid from Into the Wild, except in the Amazon, where no one would ever find him. Paul explained that the jungle doesn't work like other places. You can't just use a compass and expect it to save you. The Amazon is filled with iron in the soil and strange tree sap that pulls the compass needle off course. It doesn't point where it should. It lies. In a strange way, Paul said, it feels like the trees are trying to trick you. GPS doesn't help much either. Batteries die. Signals fade. And when that happens, you're left with only your memory. You have to remember every turn you took, every bend, every slight shift in direction. This skill is called dead reckoning, and if you mess it up even once, you can walk in circles for hours or even days. Paul said he had taken people through the jungle many times before. He was a guide. He thought he knew what he was doing, but even he got fooled. One time, he tried to walk from one trail to another. He was sure he knew the way. After 30 minutes, he came back out on the exact same trail he had started from. He laughed it off and pretended it was on purpose. But it showed how dangerous the jungle really is. When he was lost on this solo trip, night made everything worse.
I slept in the hammock, but this is as I was learning, so I didn't realize that the hammock that I had bought had a mosquito net on top, but the back was not mosquito proof. So my back was being destroyed by mosquitoes as I'm trying to sleep.
He slept in a hammock, hanging between trees. It had a mosquito net on top, but he didn't realize the back was open. While he tried to sleep, mosquitoes kept biting him through the fabric. His back was being eaten alive. He couldn't rest. He couldn't escape them. After a few nights of that, his body was exhausted. He finally drifted off. Then, in the middle of the night, something woke him up. He heard breathing, not far away, not in the distance, right next to his face. Paul froze. He could feel warm breath moving across his skin. He was afraid to move, afraid to even breathe too loudly. He slowly realized that whatever it was only inches away. It was a jaguar. A full-grown jaguar had walked up to his hammock. Its face was only about 6 inches from his own. He wanted to turn on his headlamp, but fear held him still. He didn't want to make a sudden move. He didn't want to scare it. The jaguar let out a low growl right into his ear. Not loud, not angry, just a warning. It was saying, "I see you. Don't move." Paul said the jaguar was not there to attack him. It was curious. It wanted to know what this strange thing hanging in the trees was. But the danger was real. One wrong movement could have changed everything. Then, just as quietly as it came, the jaguar left. It walked back into the darkness of the jungle, disappearing without a sound. Later, Paul talked about how powerful these animals are. Jaguars come in different colors and patterns. Some are darker, some are lighter. Some people call black ones panthers, but that's just a name. They are still jaguars, still perfect hunters. Their muscles are built for assassinating. And yet, even with so many jaguars in that part of the Amazon, Paul said attacks on humans are almost unheard of. They have one of the strongest jaguar populations in the world, but people are rarely harmed. Most of the time, you never even see them. They watch. They stay hidden. That night, Paul realized something terrifying. He wasn't alone out there. Even when the jungle was quiet, something was always watching. How much did Paul Rosalie disclose about his experience? Keep watching to find out. When the jungle knows you're there. Paul Rosalie once said that seeing a jaguar in the wild is so rare that some people live their entire lives without ever spotting one. Even after spending years in the Amazon, he said the last time he saw one was 2 years earlier, before a specific moment. That's how hidden they are. That's how well they stay out of sight. Most people think the jungle is full of animals everywhere. However, the truth is that when humans walk in, the animals usually disappear. Paul explained why. People arrive smelling like shampoo, cologne, deodorant, and bug spray. To an animal with powerful senses, that smell is loud. It's like walking through the jungle with sirens blaring. Every creature knows you're coming long before you ever see them. Paul said that when he's in the jungle, he lives like the jungle. He washes in the river. He uses only biodegradable soap. He keeps his skin clean so he doesn't get infections, but he avoids anything with a strong scent. His clothes don't smell like a store. They smell like the forest. That's how he blends in. He explained that this isn't just for the Amazon. He does the same thing when working around elephants in Africa or wildlife in India. He wants to be part of the environment, not a strange object crashing through it. When you smell like the wild, animals don't react the same way. They don't run as fast. They don't panic. Sometimes, they don't even notice you at all. One day, not long ago, Paul was checking a camera trap in the jungle. It was September, which meant the forest floor was dry. Leaves cracked loudly when anything walked on them. He heard something approaching. At first, he thought it was one of the students from the research station. He even got ready to scold them for being so noisy. He turned around with his finger raised, ready to say something. But it wasn't a person. A jaguar walked right past him on the trail. It didn't stop. It didn't growl. It didn't even look scared. It was only about 6 feet away. The jaguar just glanced at him and kept walking, like it had places to go. Paul said it was as casual as someone passing you on the sidewalk. The jaguar didn't even break its stride. What shocked him the most was that the jaguar didn't seem to notice him as a threat at all. His scent had blended in so well that the animal wasn't alarmed. It was like Paul wasn't even there. He explained that big cats like jaguars, tigers, and leopards don't really see humans as food. Their mothers teach them to hunt a certain way. They attack from the side. They go for the neck. They are built to take down animals that move on 4 legs. When they see a tall, upright human walking, it doesn't fit their hunting pattern. To them, we look strange, we smell strange, and they don't know how to attack something shaped like that unless they are desperate. Paul said lions can be different, but jaguars, tigers, and leopards usually just pass people by. He even said he never feels afraid when he's around jaguars. Not once. He respects them. He admires them, but he doesn't fear them. When he does see one, he doesn't even lift his camera. He lets other people take pictures if they're with him. But for himself, he just watches. Jaguars are too rare, too special. He doesn't want to ruin the moment by looking at it through a screen. At night, though, things feel different. When you shine a headlamp into the darkness, eyes shine back. Two glowing dots in the black jungle. That's how you know something is looking at you. Paul explained that different animals have different eye shines. Deer will blink. Jaguars move their heads side to side, trying to see around the light. After a while, you start to learn the difference. You know when it's just a deer, and you know when it's something far more powerful. Because in the Amazon, when two eyes stare back at you in the dark, you never really know what is watching until it moves. Aside from Paul Rosalie, there have been other individuals who have found themselves in the Amazon one way or another. Let's find out what it was like and how they were able to survive it. Lost in the Amazon, the children who survived 40 days alone. On May 1st, 2023, a small Cessna 206 light aircraft carrying 7 people crashed deep in the Caquetá Department of Colombia, plunging its passengers into the heart of the unforgiving Amazon rainforest. The plane had departed that morning from Araraquara Airport, bound for San Jose del Guaviare, a domestic flight of 220 miles. On board were the pilot, Hernando Murcia Morales, aged 57, with more than 8,300 flight hours, his co-pilot, a mother named Magdalena Mukutui Valencia, her 4 children aged between 1 and 13, and a local indigenous leader, Herman Mendoza Hernandez. Tragedy struck immediately. The pilot reported engine failure at 7:34 a.m., but radio contact was soon lost. The aircraft crashed, assassinating the pilot and Mendoza on impact. Magdalena survived the crash, but succumbed to her injuries 4 days later, leaving her children alone in one of the most dangerous and isolated environments on Earth. The surviving children at the time, Leslie, 13, Soleini, 9, Tien, 5, and Christine, just 1 year old, faced a challenge that most adults would struggle to survive. Stranded in dense jungle, they had no immediate help, no shelter beyond what the forest could provide, and only the skills their culture had taught them. Being part of the Witoto indigenous group, they were not completely strangers to the rainforest. From an early age, children of the Witoto are taught to hunt, fish, and gather, skills that would now mean the difference between life and death. The Colombian Air Force immediately began searching for the missing aircraft. A Basler BT-67 and a Bell Huey helicopter were dispatched, combing the thick green canopy and treacherous terrain for any sign of the plane. Rescue teams faced enormous challenges: thick foliage, unpredictable weather, and the vast expanse of the Amazon, where visibility can disappear in seconds, and even the loudest signals are muted by the forest itself. For 40 days, the children survived on their own. They navigated the rainforest using knowledge passed down through their indigenous upbringing, finding food and water while avoiding dangerous predators. They endured insects, rain, and hunger, all while the shadow of the forest loomed over them. Each day required courage, instinct, and cooperation among the siblings. Despite the odds, they persisted, a testament to human resilience and the ancestral knowledge of the Witoto people. Finally, after more than a month in isolation, the children were rescued. A combination of Colombian military forces and volunteers from local indigenous groups found them alive, exhausted, but remarkably resilient.
Sheer joy as the grandparents of 4 children lost in the rainforest for 40 days learn they've been found alive. The children aged 13, 9, 4, and a 1-year-old infant.
Their survival captured global attention, highlighting not only the dangers of the Amazon, but also the remarkable capacity of humans, especially children trained in traditional skills, to adapt to one of the harshest environments on the planet. This story is a chilling reminder of how unpredictable the rainforest can be. Even a short flight gone wrong can turn into a life-or-death ordeal. Yet, it also demonstrates the incredible strength and ingenuity of those who truly understand the jungle, who can survive where most would perish, and who, even in the face of unimaginable loss, manage to endure against all odds. The crash and the children's survival are more than just news stories. They are a testament to the raw power of the Amazon and the enduring spirit of those who know it best. In a place where being lost can mean certain death, these 4 siblings proved that knowledge, courage, and the will to survive can conquer even the most daunting wilderness. But how exactly did these 4 children survive the harsh nature of the Amazon? Stay tuned to find out. Survival in the Shadows, the children's 40-day ordeal. After the crash, the children faced the harshest test of their young lives. According to what they later told authorities, their mother, before passing away, urged them to leave and get help. With courage that belied their ages, the 4 siblings, Leslie, Soleini, Tien, and baby Christine, walked away from the wreckage and began roaming the dense, unpredictable rainforest. They relied on the skills and knowledge they had gained as members of the Witoto indigenous group, using what the jungle offered to survive. Their survival depended on both the wreckage and the wild itself. From the plain, they retrieved cassava flour, a staple that sustained them when hunger gnawed at their bellies. The surrounding forest provided more. They gathered fruits from bacaba palm trees and seeds from avichure trees, using their understanding of native plants to avoid poisonous ones. Every bite they took was a lesson in resilience, every step a testament to ancestral knowledge passed down through generations. Meanwhile, the Colombian military, along with local indigenous communities, launched an urgent search for the missing plane and its occupants. On May 15th, 2 weeks after the crash, rescuers finally located the wreckage. Initially, Colombian President Gustavo Petro tweeted that the children had been found, a hopeful announcement that was retracted less than 24 hours later. At the site, rescuers discovered personal items belonging to the children, including a small drinking bottle and traces of a makeshift shelter. These signs suggested that the children could still be alive, hiding somewhere in the thick jungle. The search intensified. A small footprint found a week later gave rescuers a glimmer of hope. To communicate with the children, teams used loudspeakers broadcasting messages in the Witoto language, asking them to remain in one place so they could be located safely. The head of the Colombian Institute of Family Welfare noted that the jungle was in harvest, meaning the children were able to find fruits in bloom and sustain themselves until rescuers reached them. Among the search teams was Wilson, a Belgian shepherd trained for rescue operations. The dog played a critical role in navigating paths that could lead to the children. Tragically, Wilson went missing during the operation. A 2-week-long mission involving dozens of personnel attempted to find him, but failed. Despite this setback, search and rescue continued without pause, underscoring the determination of those committed to bringing the children home. After 40 grueling days, on June 10, 2023, the children were finally found. They were evacuated to Bogotá, Colombia's capital, for medical evaluation. The rescue teams reported that the children were malnourished and covered in insect bites, but remarkably, none suffered major health issues. At that point, approximately 150 troops and rescuers, along with 200 volunteers from local indigenous communities, had been combing the rainforest for any sign of the young survivors.
They even send 110 special forces on the ground to try and look for this plane, and they still can't find it. And interestingly enough, the jungle is almost too dangerous for these special forces.
President Petro hailed their endurance as an example of total survival which will remain in history. The crash was formally investigated by the Colombian Civil Aviation Authority. The final report, published in 2025, identified engine failure as the primary cause, likely stemming from fuel system malfunction or contamination. The investigation produced several safety recommendations, including more rigorous fuel inspections and improvements to search and rescue operations for flights in Amazonian regions. Even after their rescue, the children's ordeal was not yet over. Their maternal grandfather, Narciso Mukutui, requested that they be relocated closer to family in Villavicencio. A custody dispute followed, involving the father of the two youngest children, Manuel Ranoque, and their grandfather, who accused Ranoque of domestic violence. The two older children had a different father, and Ranoque was not granted access to them after the accident. By mid-June 2023, child protection agencies were interviewing relatives to determine the safest arrangement for the children and investigating the claims of misconduct. The story of their survival captured international attention. It became the focus of multiple documentaries, including Netflix's The Lost Children in 2024 and National Geographic's Lost in the Jungle in 2025. These films chronicled not only the terrifying ordeal and the resilience of the children, but also the incredible efforts of the rescuers and the profound knowledge of the jungle that kept them alive. Their 40-day journey through the Amazon remains one of the most extraordinary survival stories in recent history, a testament to courage, skill, and the unbreakable human spirit in the face of the wilderness. From one survival story to the next, let's find out what happened. Trapped in the Bauras jungle, Jonathan Acosta's fight for survival. On January 25, 2023, Jonathan Acosta set out on what he thought would be a routine hunting trip with his friends in the Bauras jungle of Bolivia. They were armed with cameras, hoping to capture footage of their adventure. Everything seemed planned, and he expected nothing more than a typical excursion. But as soon as they stepped into the dense jungle, reality shifted. What began as a confident, organized hunt soon became a harrowing tale of isolation and survival. Jonathan described how, as the first day drew to a close, he lagged behind his friends on the path back to their boat. In an instant, he realized he could no longer see them. Panic set in, and his heart raced. He called out repeatedly, but only the distant humming of a boat's engine responded. Trembling, he held his gun and fired a shot into the air, hoping the noise would carry to his friends. But it faded into the jungle as if the forest itself had swallowed it. Left alone, Jonathan tried to find his way back, slowly stumbling through the dense Amazonian forest. Darkness began to fall, and he realized he had almost no equipment. He carried only a single reserve bullet and a lighter. He hoped he remained close enough to the river for his friends to find him, but the jungle closed in, enveloping him in shadows and a suffocating sense of disorientation. Rustling leaves, unknown animal noises, and the sheer isolation made fear grip him. The first 15 days were sheer hell. Every night, darkness rendered him blind. Every day, he was too exhausted and dehydrated to make meaningful progress. His body weakened from walking for hours on end. Hunger left his vision blurred, his head spinning, and his energy sapped. Thirst became unbearable, and in desperation, he resorted to drinking his own urine to survive. Every day felt like a battle against the forest itself. Over a month passed, and Jonathan struggled to fend off wild animals while enduring relentless weather conditions. The constant threat of predators and harsh terrain left cuts and bruises covering his body. But in the final 15 days before rescue, something inside him shifted. He refused to give in to death. He accepted that no one might be searching for him and resolved to find the river, the only path to safety. His determination became unwavering. During those final days, his senses became finely tuned. Every sound was amplified, every scent carefully analyzed. He scouted for water and food, relying entirely on instinct. Hunger, exhaustion, and fear drove him forward. One night, wild pigs attacked him, tearing apart one of his boots. He grabbed a tree in panic, realizing the pigs were chewing on his shoe. His water-soaked rifle misfired when he attempted a shot. Frozen in the dark, he remained motionless until daylight revealed the dead animal had moved on. The jungle became surreal. Amidst constant threats from wild animals, Jonathan began to feel the presence of a hidden tribe protecting him. Fresh tracks appeared nearby. Human feces suggested that someone, or some people, were watching over him. He believed he was receiving help from both divine intervention and the jungle's mysterious guardians. Despite his skills, he frequently faced jaguars, peccaries, and other predators. When confronted, he raised his arms and yelled with all his strength, frightening them into retreat. Even with survival skills honed over time, moments of sheer panic and hopelessness devastated him. Panic attacks left him screaming for hours, alone in the oppressive forest. He injured his ankle, further complicating navigation through the treacherous terrain. Crawling over wet leaves and mud became a daily struggle. Insects constantly bit him, and tiny larvae tried to burrow into his skin. Every step, every breath was a test of endurance and willpower. For Jonathan, the Bares jungle was both a prison and a teacher. It tested every ounce of his courage, forcing him to rely on instinct, knowledge, and sheer determination. His fight for survival was a relentless confrontation with fear, hunger, and the raw, untamed power of the rainforest. Each day in that jungle was a delicate balance between life and death, a struggle against both nature and isolation, proving the extraordinary lengths humans can go to survive when faced with the unknown. How was Jonathan able to escape this nightmare? Keep watching to find out. Rescue and transformation, emerging from the jungle. After 31 grueling days alone in the Bares jungle, Jonathan Acosta felt trapped in what seemed like an endless loop of fear, hunger, and exhaustion.
A man has survived 31 days alone in the Amazon jungle. Jonathan Acosta lost his 4 friends while out hunting in the north of Bolivia. He lost 17 kilograms and survived on a diet of worms, insects before being found by a search party. The hunter had encounters with wild animals, including jaguars and pigs.
Just before his rescue, he stumbled into a well, injuring his ankle badly. The swelling made it feel like a solid ball, and the pain was nearly unbearable. He collapsed and slept for 2 full days, his body and mind barely able to cope with the ordeal. One morning, faint murmurs in the distance pulled him back from the brink. At first, he thought it might be a hallucination, a trick of his tired mind. Summoning every ounce of strength, he dragged himself toward the sound. Through thorny undergrowth, scraped and bruised, he crawled. And then, to his astonishment, he saw them. A search group of locals and friends about 300 meters away. He yelled with everything he had, desperate to be noticed. The rescuers spotted him, and tears streamed down his face uncontrollably. Emotions overwhelmed him. Relief, disbelief, gratitude, and exhaustion all at once. When asked how he survived so long alone, he struggled to even explain. Survival had become a mixture of instinct and desperation. He had used his boots to collect rainwater, scavenged for insects, worms, mushrooms, and edible plants, and even consumed wild fruits, similar to papayas, called gargatillas. Every day had been a struggle, but he had endured. Emerging from the jungle, Jonathan described a profound transformation. The experience forced him to reflect on his past choices and actions. He felt remorse and a deep recognition of the value of life. Vowing never to hunt animals again, he began to see the interconnectedness of all living things. Being lost had taught him lessons no ordinary classroom could provide. Jonathan focused on his recovery. He underwent both physical rehabilitation and a detoxification process, working to restore his health after the extreme ordeal. Psychological challenges remain, but doctors are optimistic about his full recovery. Every day, he takes steps to reclaim his life, rebuild strength, and move forward. The jungle may have nearly claimed him, but it also gave him a renewed sense of purpose and respect for life. A reminder of human resilience and the deep lessons that survival can teach. How did someone else experience a whole different ordeal in the Amazon? Let's find out. Immersed in the Amazon. Lessons from Tambopata. A woman shared her story about her time at Tambopata Resort, describing an unforgettable journey through the Amazon that tested her courage and transformed her perspective on nature. She arrived at the remote resort after a 3-hour boat ride from the last small Peruvian town, entering a world completely unlike anything she had known. There was no electricity, no Wi-Fi, only candlelight illuminating her hut. The lack of modern distractions gave her the chance to slow down, reflect, and connect with the jungle in a deeply personal way. Her guide, Raphael, greeted her warmly, a machete casually slung over his shoulder. As the most senior guide, he had grown up in the jungle, learning its secrets and rhythms. Through him, she realized the unique privilege of experiencing a living, breathing ecosystem, humming with life and wisdom. From the moment she arrived, she felt the jungle's immense power. The Amazon wrapped around her, whispering lessons she didn't yet know she needed. The most transformative moment came during a night walk. Raphael instructed each visitor to spend a few minutes standing alone in the pitch-black jungle with no flashlights. It was just the forest and each person, alone with the sounds of the night. She admitted it was terrifying at first. Shadows and unseen creatures filled her mind, and her heart raced with every rustle of leaves. But she wanted to face her fear and see what lay beyond it. Slowly, as she stood alone in the darkness, her fear began to shift. She became aware of the jungle noticing her presence, and she felt herself noticing it in return. The darkness stopped feeling threatening and became a teacher. She realized she was a small part of a vast, living web, connected to everything around her. By the end of her experience, the woman said she was changed. The jungle was no longer something to fear. It had become something to embrace. She discovered her own strength and courage, and the beauty of stepping into the unknown. What do you think about these adventures in the Amazon? Let us know in the comments section below. The Amazon hides wonders and dangers that most of us can't even imagine. From being lost among jaguars to surviving weeks alone in the jungle, these stories reveal what really happens when humans enter the wild. If these incredible survival tales surprised you, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click the next video for more shocking adventures and untold truths from the world's most dangerous places.